They basically want elevation of their social status. That's what they're really after, because they want to go home. They want to be able to make their parents proud, to provide for their children, and they want to be able to flex. And how we understand love to be, it's so different from the Thai person. The Thai person is, yes, I love you, but I have my needs, my practical needs that need to be met, financial status, provisions, so on and so forth. They come from a completely different world altogether. And so,
What's the story, everybody? Pete here from Tires Times. Hope you're doing well. So, in the last couple of years, maybe 3, 4 years, I've noticed, and other people have noticed as well, a rise in what you would call Thai dating gurus. And what these people are, they're usually women, Thai women, on Facebook and other social media platforms. They brand themselves as being these dating gurus and give advice to Thai women about how to catch or snare a wealthy Western man or an Asian man, a wealthy foreigner, let's say that. Let's take a look at one I found, okay? So this is a Thai woman, very attractive woman, stunning, beautiful. And she does a great job at branding herself as a Thai dating guru. She takes photos in high-end restaurants. She's with fancy cars, standing beside fancy cars. She's got photos with wealthy foreigners. She even has her own lip balm that she claims has some kind of magic spell. And when she puts it on, the whatever is in the lip balm can attract a man. So her pricing structure, well, actually not her pricing structure, but other Thai gurus' pricing structure is interesting. Okay, so what I've noticed online is you can pay a premium price if you want to find a Western man that's an entrepreneur. So someone who owns their own company. That's the top level these gurus are going to charge. They're going to be able to link you or link a Thai woman with a wealthy entrepreneur. You're paying top dollar for that one, okay? The next one is second tier down is like a corporate employee. You're in the corporate world, you've got a high flying job, you're doing well in the corporate world, but you don't own your own business. You're an employee, you're on the second tier, and then another tier down would then be like civil servant, so it goes down based on purely income, okay? So it's an interesting conversation. We're going to have the conversation with Josh, who's been on the channel twice before. Really interesting guy from Malaysia, speaks Thai fluently. I think he mentioned before his mother might have been Thai, or he's got a connection to Thailand anyway through his family. But we're going to talk about it with him. But this conversation then kind of morphed away from Thai dating gurus into more like a conversation about Thailand and it being a culture where love is transactional, which is still kind of linked to these dating gurus, okay? So we're going to talk about that as well. We're going to talk about how a Westerner views love versus how a Thai person views love, the cultural differences around love, okay? And then we're going to get into the conversation about these dating gurus and the emotional manipulation that they're teaching these Thai women how to do, essentially. And then what do you think about it? Do you agree with it? Do you think, there's a market for every kind of business? This is the business of love, matchmaking, all that stuff. It's been around since the dawn of time. It's just kind of morphed into, well, maybe this is the Thai version or whatever. What are your opinions on it? Put them down in the comment section. I'd like to read them. You see it right there. We've got a big pint of creamy mother's milk. Absolutely creamy mother's milk, because I'm releasing this video on St. Patrick's Day. So Lá Féile Pádraig Shuna Div. Happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody. Sláinte what? Oh, beautiful. It's a Guinness 00 glass, but trust me, I wouldn't be drinking Guinness 00. Well, I mean, I have had it before, but this is the real deal. We're drinking alcoholic Guinness. Mother's milk. Happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody. Wish you all the best wherever you are in the world. If you have a bit of Irish in you, you're Irish on St. Patrick's Day. Enjoy the day. Cheers, everybody. Let's get straight into the video. Josh,
yep.
Thanks very much for coming on, man. You've done 2 episodes already with us, and people loved you, and you're a great talker. You're an intelligent guy, and I knew this was going to be a topic that you're the guy to talk about it. So in recent years, I'd say in the last maybe 3 years, definitely post-COVID,
right,
there's been this kind of rise in Thailand of these dating gurus, usually women, and
Yeah.
they offer services to other Thai women, and it's
Hmm.
usually how to find a rich husband, a rich man, be they from Asia, like a Japanese, Korean, or
Mm.
from a Western country. Okay, can you just give us the background of that and just explain more about like
Yeah.
what these dating gurus actually do?
Well, first of all, Pete, thanks for having me back. It's always a pleasure to be here. I think I just want at the onset to establish that, that we're here to be objective as possible, that we're not here to demonize the Thai people. I think your channel is very dedicated to sharing the darker sides of life in Thailand. And sometimes I think from the comment sections that I read, and you get a bit of heckling on sometimes they may take it as negative, but we need to see both sides of the coin, right? And I think what your channel offers is a lot of truth, and that's what we're here for, and we're not here to demonize. So, and to all your Thai audience, let me just say ขอโทษนะครับสวัสดีครับเราไม่ได้โทษใครนะครับwe're not here to demonize anyone. We're not going to blame anyone. เราแค่พูดความจริง. We're just here to share the truth. And thanks for your question, Pete. I think what's important is that there is these gurus or ajahn on Facebook where they teach girls on how to find the best men, the best person out there as a life partner, or whether it's going to be a short term, mid term, But there are these gurus out there actively teaching girls, of all ages, all these techniques on how you approach, let's say, a retiree versus a young Farang who just came to Thailand. So they've got their own different categories, how they categorize the different segments of foreign men coming to Thailand, how you can skin the cat, as it were.
So they're teaching them dating strategies for each different kind of person.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just open sharing basically, and this Achans, I think then what they do is they recruit students, they give just enough to kind of whet their appetites, and but it's significant from what I can see. It's a lot of information there, and I think it's enough for a lot of the audience or the target audience to take that information and use it very effectively. Because let's face it, men are not very complicated. We're not very complicated creatures. So it doesn't take a lot to empty our pockets or to, you can call us Sims for all you want, but I think it's not rocket science, but the problem is when this information is shared out so openly, I think it's going to be misused by a lot of people.
These groups, there's a lot of them on Facebook, isn't there? They have like thousands of people in them.
Yeah.
Mostly Thai women, obviously.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Definitely. I think the reason why these groups exist, there are a couple of reasons. I think from an economical standpoint, if you understand the Thai economy, the social stratification is so wide. You don't have the middle class isn't very strong. You've got the rich who are very affluent, and then by and large, the rest of Thailand are just suffering, right? And the economy has been bad. I mean, if you look at just the household debt to GDP, country GDP alone, it's about 90%. Just imagine that household debt is 90% of the country's GDP. That is a hell of a lot of money that goes into consumption. So there's this consumption culture where women or families are spending so much they can't make ends meet. So you can imagine that desperation is there. It's very real when you're on the ground.
So a solution to that would be to find a spouse, a partner that's wealthy that would be able to take care of the family.
I mean, if you think about it, what are your options? Your options, you go back to farming, which is very, very hard life. And in a country where, they're very beauty conscious, similar to Korea, a country that is so beauty conscious and they are up against so much competition, because it's a country that, for every person or every male that's available, and mind you, there are not many, you know, uh, I mean, there are jokes made about it that, a huge percentage are either gays or ladyboys or monks or dedicating their lives in the monastery. So you remove, that three big categories, you're gonna be left with very few men left. So the competition is very high, and in a country where there's so much emphasis on outer beauty, skin deep beauty, as it were, you can imagine the competition is crazy, right? So women are going to go all out to get the best mate or life partner out there, and they will do whatever it takes. And so that against the economic backdrop, that is it's related. How women spend incessantly on beauty products and collagen. You go to the 7-Elevens, you get two, three 7-Elevens on one street sometimes, and those 7-Elevens, I think the best ones are in Thailand, and they're filled with makeups, products, beauty products. The Watsons and all that, right? They're just amazing. You just cross it, 100 kilometers over the border, and you come to Malaysia, and you see it's worlds apart. It's like night and day. So the women are hard pressed to beautify themselves, take care of themselves. So there's a lot of spending that goes into that, and you can imagine when the expenses of the expenditure to survive in this crazy economic climate, and to find a spouse or a partner that can journey with you and provide that financial security and support. It's crazy. It's a crazy mix. It's a bag that it can be very toxic.
So we were talking on WhatsApp, and
Yeah,
we were talking about just going through the interview today, okay? And you said, I'll just read it out. You said, "Let me forward you what my Thai lady friend told me." I'm just going to read out. So this is what a Thai woman said, talking about dating, okay? She says, "It's normal for Thai girl, nah? They will
yeah.
talk to several men at the same time. If anyone gives the best deal, they will go. It's wasting time talking to only one person and no progress. Even now, I have Japanese boyfriends, but I talk to a couple more guys too. For me, not about money because I have good income, but it's about the strategy. We can't spend time with one man because it's uncertain. Imagine if I put all my effort to one man for 10 years and the outcome is not nice. An all Thai dating guru saying the same to me. Thai dating guru will even tell how to treat the man differently. If this guy pay a lot, take good care of him. If this guy pay less, do not pick him up from the airport. I mean, that's kind of, but I'll just read after what she said. She says she doesn't care about money, it's about strategy, but then she clearly does care about money because she's using these dating strategies. If the rich guy provides a lot of money, then she'll take good care of him. If a guy provides less money, then she won't pick him up from the airport. So she is money focused, even though she says she's not.
We need to just take a couple of steps back very quickly, on top of what I just mentioned about the horrible economic climate. I need to mention something I've mentioned in your previous videos, whereby the women in the Thai community have a lot of burden on their shoulders. They wear the pants, literally. They're the ones who are the main breadwinners of the family. And on their shoulders, they bear the burden of the generation before them, which is their father and mother, if they're still alive, and the generation after them, which would be their kids. And a lot of their husbands are unfortunately either drunkards or involved in drugs or working, far away. So a lot of reliance, a lot of burden falls back squarely on the shoulders of the women folk. So you can imagine that they're hard pressed to really make it. Now, another thing is about the Thai culture that is such flex culture, right? Where they have to flex a lot. And I have Thai friends who are married to Malaysians. Every time when it's time to go home for, say, Chinese New Year or Songkran festival, right? They feel the immense pressure of making sure that they're all dolled up and they have enough, gold chains, gold earrings, and adornments that will make them look like they are successful. They've done well overseas. They've married someone rich, and they're coming home, and they can lift their chins, their heads high, as it were, because otherwise it would be an embarrassment, and there would be the gossip of the town whereby they've gone away and they've come back empty-handed, you know. So there's so much societal pressure placed on them. So you can imagine how this Achans and all these workshops on how to trap men or how to get money from men or how to marry rich guys, you know, why it's so rife in a culture like that, whereby, you know, if you look at every angle, they're hard pressed, you know. I'm not giving them an excuse, and it's not a free pass to excuse their behavior, but the pressure from all sides is very real for them. And so they would go at any length to make it happen. And these Ajahns are there to feed that very basic need. It's become a basic need for them to keep up with the Jones, or to really be able to flex when they go back to their villages, that they've secured, first of all, Pua Ti Mi Ngen, a rich husband, right? And then to be able to buy a house, to buy a new car, to show progress. That is so important. That's uh, like the be all and end all, you know, of a Thai woman. And that becomes you know, a double-edged sword, I guess, you know, right, at the expense of, say, the Farang men, who are, you know, very often, I think the other side of the coin is that perhaps a lot of men who go to Thailand have been disappointed by what's happening at home, and they probably think that Thailand might be a new beginning for them. And so I think, Pete, you mentioned earlier before this call that, for example, in Ireland, a lot of women marry for love more than for financial security, right? You know, but the situation in Thailand is such that because there's been so much transaction, Thailand has been a focus where men have flocked to Thailand for a second chance, or for love, or for a sexual escapade, right? There's been so much transaction built into the culture over the years, you know, over many years, I would say, that, you know, the saying, if you can't beat them, join them, right? Okay, so you can imagine the women in general now are seeing their neighbors, whom they don't realize are probably selling their bodies in Pattaya or something like that, right? All of a sudden driving a Mercedes Benz, all of a sudden from a wooden house now having a three-story brick house. And then we're all being left out for what, you know? And then so there's this realization, hey, you know, why does love need to be sincere? Why can't it be transactional, right? Why can't it just be transactional? Why should I lose out? You know, why do good girls have to finish last? What if I, you know, I don't have to sell myself like these girls or my neighbors are in Pattaya, but I could be a long-term girlfriend, or I could marry into a richer. So they basically want elevation of their social status. That's what they're really after, because they want to go home. They want to be able to make their parents proud, to provide for their children, and they want to be able to flex.
Is it then about survival then? Because when I said earlier about Irish women marrying for love, and I think it's probably like, I can only speak for Ireland because I live in Ireland. I've never lived in America. I've never lived in the UK. I would imagine the UK is similar to Ireland, but like, you know, in Ireland, I'd say relationships are based on emotional connection, shared values, mutual respect as well. And when you think about Ireland, it's a rich economy. You know, a lot of Irish women have very high paying jobs, so they don't have to worry about financial security. They can marry for love, absolutely no problem. Whereas if you look at in Thailand, where you have a woman from, let's say, you know, farming background from Isan, she's got no education, she just has her looks. So she has a window of opportunity from the time she's, say, 20 to
Yeah.
maybe 35, maybe, to find a spouse that can support her and support the family. So it's, when you say transactional, yeah, maybe it is transactional, but it's also it's necessity as well. Isn't it survival as well?
I think when it's something that is so necessary for survival, then it's very easy for that to migrate into that area of being very transactional, right? Rather than being intimate, or rather than coming to a point where it's very real, very honest, very raw. Um, a lot of that is expressed in their songs, ironically, right? But when it comes to the practical, pragmatic side of life, I think a lot of them understand that it's very transactional. And I think the the a Thai person lives in this kind of a duality where the Thai culture is very conservative, and the only people that they truly trust are actually the Thai people, right? And everybody else outside of Thailand or outside of the Thai culture are foreigners, no matter what. It doesn't matter if you've lived there for 1,000 years, or if you speak Thai fluently like I do, you're still going to be considered an outsider no matter what, right? And I remember feeling that way when I was in my previous relationship, which some of you know about if you've watched Pete's previous video where I was interviewed. And I realized that even with my fluent Thai, I was always the outsider. So they're always going to protect the inner sanctum, right? The core of society, of their society, which is right from the off the bat would be their parents. There's this concept in Thailand called katanyu, which means filial piety. Parents come first, no matter what. You will never be number one. Okay, only a few Thai women understand that in this modern day and age, you need to put your spouse first because you guys are a team, right? Right. And this idea of putting your spouse first, or what we're familiar with in the West, is so normal because we live apart from our relatives, right? But Thai people generally live together in communities. So they don't exist as an individual, they exist as part of a whole. You can imagine that, right? So their mentality is very different. They live for others, whereas people in the West, we live for ourselves. It's very different. So that's why our concept of love and relationship is so different. The romantics and the romanticism and how we understand love to be, it's so different from the Thai person. The Thai person is, yes, I love you, but I have my needs, my practical needs that need to be met, financial status, provisions, so on and so forth. They come from a completely different world altogether. And so when they hear stuff like that, like what you read out earlier, it can be very shocking to the Farang, to the Western, to the person outside of Thailand, where, things like, yeah, date a few men at the same time, or chat with a few men at the same time, and whatever, who gives you the best, the shortest route, the shortest runway to that elevation of status that you're looking for, or wealth that you're looking for, you take that route, you go for it, you don't waste your time, right? And you don't waste your time, you don't put all your eggs in one basket, right? But you date a couple of men, and then you find the best one and you go for that. So it sounds so wrong to the Western mind. uh but for them it's just so practical, and it sounds completely legit. So
So
uh
is it just a difference in culture then? Cultural differences that, like you said, the West is based on emotional connection, and what you described there for a Westerner it would be quite shocking for someone that's brand new to Thailand. It would be quite shocking. But what about, is it just cultural differences?
I mean, look,
Love is
i'm
just
i'm
viewed differently.
yeah, I mean, look, I'm Asian as Asian can be, but I grew up with British and Americans. I had that privilege of growing up with them, so I have a very Western mindset, and I did I had my education in the States as well. So even for me as a Malaysian with a Western mind, I'm very shocked when the first time I heard it, I was like, "This is so ridiculous," and the way my friend told it to me, it was as if it was just a matter of fact, and it was fun, and it was as if it was just a norm, and it was so accepted. And she didn't even bat an eye. So there was very unapologetically, and the way it was shared with me to me, it was very unapologetic. So I was stunned, obviously, and and when I dug a little deeper, and that's when, yeah, she kind of reiterated a lot of things that we spoke about a couple of minutes ago, on how it's a necessity, right, to stay ahead of the curve, to get that elevation of status, because you've got to understand the economy in Thailand, and there are a lot of glass ceilings, from the lower class to the middle class to the upper class. A lot of glass ceilings, a lot that you meet on the way. So social mobility is not like what we have in the West, where You've got the American dream. You've got maybe the Irish dream. I don't know, but social mobility is very possible because there are equal opportunities. There's education and all that, but the social infrastructure of Thailand is very difficult unless you're born in a business savvy family. You are miles and miles, 100 miles ahead of everybody else because you've got the network set up for you. It's not about who has the best product. It's about who knows who. It's not a culture similar to Malaysia. It's not a culture that relies very much on merit, on not meritocracy, not based on what you know, but based on who you know. And then let's talk. And then let's talk business. That's how it works, right? I'm sure
Yeah,
that
I would say
happens in
that
the
as well. I would
West.
say, I would say one, yeah, I would agree with that to a certain extent. I would definitely say that it's not just performance that
Yeah.
matters in Thailand, whereas in the West, it's, your performance is key. Do you know what I mean? But you have to
Oh,
have other skills too in the West. But in Thailand, it's like performance plus who you know, who your connections are if you want to jump up, 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 up.
absolutely, absolutely. So how many people will have that? How many people are really autonomous? Really, I mean, are able to have that social mobility? Not many at all. So the only way they can find that is to hop on to piggyback on to a farang, who can give them that boost. And if you think about it, lottery, lottery buying, right? It's like a daily affair. Everybody's hoping for that they get lucky, right? So every time when they go to the temple to pray, can you imagine they're praying? What are they praying for? They're praying that they strike the lottery and get rich. They're just hoping for that one chance in life to make it. Because I think that sense of hope, and especially in the last 8, 9 years with the previous government and things not improving, I think you're going to see a lot more of this achan and gurus coming out to teach girls and ladies on how to get that best potential made. I think it's just going to get worse. And if guys out there, who are listening to this, if you don't know better, if you're not part of the initiated, you're gonna fall into the trap.
Well, let's talk about these kind of traps, okay? Can you talk about these dating tactics that these gurus teach these Thai women?
Yeah, let's look at the other side of the coin, Pete. I mean, it's one thing to look at what the girls are doing, but just look at the other side of the coin. I think there's a lot of loneliness in the Western world, right? Uh, and I feel that too in here in Malaysia. For example, if I went out to the street, we are very Malaysia, by the way, we are a previous colony, a British colony, right? So we are very British in a lot of ways. When I walk out of my house, I can't just talk to anybody. Okay, there's always a bubble, and people are in their private space. But whereas if I'm in Bangkok, or I'm in Hat Yai or Chiang Mai, if I walk out of my hotel, I can just talk to anybody and everybody on the street. All right, because the community is still so alive, and everybody is friendly and open. I can walk into any bar in Bangkok and just talk to anybody and buy them drinks, and we're instant friends, and we can share our deepest secrets and then never see each other again. I can't do that in Malaysia. They'll think I'm a freak, right? So but the thing is, so the Western world, we're so individual, uh that we're so lonely, right? There's so much loneliness in the Western world. So they know this. So the moment we come to Thailand, all of a sudden, we're in this place where there's so much friendliness, so much smiles, so much warmth. They know that they've got us. They got us at hello. All right. They know that a lot of Western men out there are very lonely, right? And with the whole thing about being macho and machismo, that you gotta hold up your own, you gotta keep your chin up, men don't cry and all that stuff, right? So where do you let out? Where is that soft place for you to land? You don't have that, right? And so when you come to Thailand, all of a sudden, you've got this very sweet talking, very gentle, very uh serving kind of a culture, right? You're gonna fall for it. There's a saying in the Tamil language, uh where women to this man is as lint to fire, or fire to lint, right? You are that cotton bud, my friends, and the women are the fire, because you've got so much emptiness and so much loneliness in there, man. You're just going to take the bait, and they know that. And so because they know that you're lonely, they know how to serve you. They know how to talk to you. They know where all your weaknesses are. They know that you feel lonely. They know that they can promise you companionship. That's what you want, right? They know that they can provide you children that you never had, or maybe your children back home are so independent. It's like you don't exist, right? But they'll tell you they'll probably give you children who will love you and call you dad, call you papa, right? That's the
So are you saying
the
this is emotional manipulation then?
yeah, yeah, of course it is. It is. Yeah. They know how to flirt with their emotions. They know how to provide uh your deepest needs. They know that,
And they're
right?
sort of so basically many like obviously can't talk for everybody, but there
Yeah.
are lots of Thai women learning this from these dating gurus. Is that
Oh
right?
yeah.
Is this what these websites are teaching people?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, Pete. Absolutely. And you can imagine that it could be, you could treat it as pseudo psychology, but they're pretty spot on, because they understand human nature, and they understand. I think they've had a lot of experience. A lot of some of these ajans, I believe, possibly at one time they were out in the streets working in Pattaya as well. They probably have been through it a couple of rounds, and that knowledge is passed down. And if you understand the Thai culture, it's a very in terms of its oral culture, in terms of how they share stuff and information. You won't see it on the internet, but it's shared. There's a lot of shared information going out there. So there's a wealth of information. They have their own very organic sort of AI kind of thing going on, right?
Well, I did see
And
like I did have a look. So I basically before this interview I consulted a couple of Thai people with a couple of these websites, Facebook
yeah,
groups and stuff like that, and they looked at them. And yeah, same three or four Thai people came back to me and said they look like ex-bar girls that are now, these gurus. And if their Facebook profile's all flashy, they're dripping in gold. They're showing pictures of building a house here, a house there. They're going playing golf with this rich guy from Hong Kong. Now they're flying business class, Emirates business class, all the way over to Dubai. So they're constantly shot pictures of money. The classic. I don't know if anyone else has seen it, but the classic stacks of money, stacks of Thai
yeah,
baht on a gold
oh yeah, yeah.
platter. They're ex-bar
That's
girls, some of them.
yeah.
We'd say in Ireland they're on the game, and they're teaching these strategies. Obviously, I would imagine they're teaching these strategies to say, how do I put this? Just maybe naive Thai women, like probably are they Thai women that have had no experience with Westerners
No,
before and they're from
I
the
wouldn't
countryside.
say
I
that.
cannot see a middle class Bangkok kind of corporate woman falling or not falling for, but using these type of dating gurus. I can see like a kind of a woman from a farming background maybe using
Yeah.
these service.
You'd be surprised, Pete, because the person who shared this information with me is a corporate woman
Okay, all right.
working in central Bangkok, who's got a lot of it, who's got ample experience working with multinationals. But here comes the question again: how much do you get paid? How much? You're not going to break past the middle class ceiling. If you really want to make it rich, hopefully you get a nice, rich Farang husband, who can buy you that huge piece of land where your mother can finally build her dream holiday home or something like that, right? Again, to flex, right? And then if you think about it again, it's interesting that you mentioned, how you saw all this in social media. If you look at the consumption of social media in Thailand alone compared to all the neighboring countries, the average Thai spends an average of 7 to 9 hours on social media
Per day.
per day. That's the average dwell time on social media. More than Malaysians, more than Filipinos, more than their neighboring Indonesians, and so on and so forth. The dwell time, or the screen time on social media is very high. So they're getting all these inputs throughout the day, whether it's cooking or whether it's another recipe, or it's they love to watch a lot of gossip news, and on top of that, stuff like that that's coming out from all these gurus on how to get the best potential mate out there that will help finally, give you that chance to elevate your status, your economic situation, your family status. You're the hero. You can do this. This is your one chance to make it in life.
Any advice for people so that they don't get caught up in this?
I think this is probably one of the best advice that I've ever heard, and I'm going to share it with you. Whatever you do, don't forget that you've got to first love yourself. I know you've heard that before, but I think that's the best safeguard for yourself. You've got to not put this women on the pedestal, okay? Because end of the day, they are as much flesh and blood as you and I are flesh and blood. Don't put them on a pedestal. A lot of us come from places of rejection and loneliness, and there's a void in our hearts, and maybe failures in our marriage back from where we came from. And we come to this place, this land of smiles, and all of a sudden, without realizing, we've put this women on a pedestal because they tick all the boxes of this person that we've always wanted, or so we think, right? But they are actually a reflection of what we want and we need inside. They're not, so we tend to put them on a pedestal. And when you forget to love yourself and you forget that you're the man, that's when you take that which is most important, which is your heart, and you put it in their hands in exchange for uh, uh, for love, right? And the attention you're getting, right? And the validation that you're looking for. And you put yourself in danger. And that's when you start to empty yourself out emotionally, physically, and financially. And that's when you find that you fall into that trap without realizing. It's so subtle. And these women are very good because they know how to play the long game. It's survival for them, right? And they know how to play the long game. They know how to journey with you. And all you need is to just get past a certain threshold, and then you'll be on a slippery slope. Once you're on that slippery slope, it's very hard to get out because your attachment is going to be so deep, it's very hard to reverse and to get out of that situation. One other advice is, uh, as much as you can, protect yourself, protect your heart. Always be on guard, and don't get into bed with them that soon. Because the moment you get into that space and you get intimate so quickly, you haven't had time to process it up here yet. You haven't had time to put the guardrails, as it were, around yourself, which is to be that stoic man, to be the man's man. You know what I'm saying? You mustn't forget that they are not the price. You are the price.
Mm.
Okay. And you can't put them on the pedestal. And if you get into things too quickly, you're going to start falling down that slippery slope, and the next thing you know, you're just way in too deep, and then you're trapped.
I think it's a lot of the time it's the man's fault. I'm gonna say that. I definitely think it's true. A lot of the time it's the man's fault. I'll tell you why. You know these channels that tell these stories. Someone reads out a story about some guy who he got ended up woe is me type of thing. A
Yes.
Thai woman scammed me, all this stuff. I was watching one of these stories there the other day, and this guy said that he got married within a month. He met this Thai woman, fell in love, and he got married within a month. Who does that?
Wow.
Come on, man.
Yep.
You
Yep.
get married within a month, and then you blame her in the story. He was blaming her for like scamming him and all this stuff. Man,
Oh yeah.
you scammed yourself. That's what happened there.
Yep. 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 Um, I wouldn't even dare to say that it's their fault per se, Pete. I think there's a lot of layers that we don't see on the surface. I think if a person is able to make that decision in a month, I think if you peel the layers away, this person could be a very lonely person. They probably come from a background where they got massively rejected and they got massively hurt. So they're acting out of a place of being hurt, and it's a response or a desperate response to find equilibrium again, or we call it in science homeostasis, right? So they want to balance things out. Uh, they want to go back into that normal zone because they've lost it, right? So
So love
sometimes, yeah,
yourself then. Work on yourself.
Love yourself, work on yourself. Absolutely, Pete. You've got to be a person who works on yourself and then let them chase you rather than you go after them and then you pour out yourself, out of need rather than out of abundance.
And maybe know your
And
worth as well. I mean, if you're
absolutely.
like if you're a Western guy and you're in Thailand and you've got decent financial security, you've got nice bank balance and properties back in your country, you hold all the cards. You hold all the aces, man. You need to realize that. You know what I mean? Realize that
Absolutely.
you hold the cards. Why are you gonna get emotionally manipulated by someone else who doesn't hold the cards and they're just calling your bluff? It's like a
Yep.
poker. It's like a game of poker. So you
Oh
gotta
yeah.
realize that, you know?
Yep. Yep. But that's a double-edged sword as well, Pete, because sometimes with that comes overconfidence as well. So when you the good old saying, the higher you climb, the harder you fall. And sometimes when you have all the cards in your hands and you think that you're untouchable, that can be a place that's the most scary, because then you let off your guard. You think you're untouchable, and that's when you're weakest as well. So
Yeah, that's
be
true.
careful
Yeah.
at all times. And I would say, you know, give them a 2-year period. Take them, date them for 2 years. Don't rush into anything. You need to do your homework as well and find out who they are. Get to know their friends. It's so important for you to get to know their friends, because birds of a feather flock together. So if you want to understand them, who they really are, you understand their friends. And when you observe their friends, then you kind of understand who they are. And if you know that their friends are doing things like that, are going after foreign men to get money, and they're laughing about it and joking about it, but your girl seems to be like the good one, that's a red flag right there, that they could all be in this together, right? But it's just right there in plain sight, but you're not seeing it. So if their friends are, like I said, the third wheel to someone else's marriage, or masseuse or things like that, I mean, stay away from these women, because they're out there for one thing and one thing only, and you're not part of the equation.
How about you,
So
Josh? Last time we spoke to you, you were in the process of getting a divorce. Has that been finalized, or what's your story now?
that's been finalized. I am now 8 months single and ready to mingle, and I am over that, thankfully.
Have you been
I've
mingling?
not much as I would like to. I think I'm still in the process of rebuilding myself and finding myself again. And once I'm ready, I'll be out there mingling. I have no qualms dating a Thai woman again, but I think this time with eyes wide open. And I think it's so important. One of the things that I've kind of rediscovered in this whole thing is to really come to realize that we are the deal, not them. And you don't put them on a pedestal. I used to put Thai women on a pedestal because I mean, uh, let's put it this way. I got duped, right? A lot of us, think that everything that glitters is gold, and but that's not true, right? And Thai women are amazing at displaying themselves, but sometimes it's like the display window full, but the storehouse is empty. So don't put them on a pedestal, regardless of what kind of background you are. If you come from a place of rejection, if you've had bad relationships in the past, all the more you need to be careful. Sort yourself out, build yourself, as Pete says. Pursue yourself, be your own best friend, and build yourself, your career, your character, your personality, your health, and everything else. And then remember that that woman doesn't complete you; she complements you in the same way you complement her. And never put that which is most important into another person's hands, which is your own heart. Okay, you are your best friend, and you have that right to hold that which is most precious, which is your heart. Yeah,
And you could sum that all up into four words. Don't be a simp. Come on, man. Come on, men out there.
yeah,
Don't be a
yeah, yeah,
simp.
yeah. Don't be a simp. Absolutely, be the man. Be a man and be ready to walk away. Be ready to walk away. You state your conditions. You state, this is how I like it. If you're not with it, I'm sorry. Next, just roll the Rolodex, and just next. Have an abundance mindset, folks. When you're simp and you're glued into a few beautiful women that you see at the club or wherever it is, and you think, oh, that's the one, right? This whole thing about that's the one is a bloody myth. Get that out of your vocab, tear it out your dictionary. The one doesn't exist. You must have an abundance mindset, because if you think that the one exists, you are basically, kind of allowing yourself to go into that. You're self-trapping yourself. You're basically limiting your options, and that's not how it is in reality. That's just in the fairy tales and storybooks. So we don't
Maybe
live in
maybe you should
fairy tales
start
and
your own
storybooks.
Facebook group about being a guru for the men. Because you're kind of
That's a
giving the
great.
opposing side to it, aren't you? You're kind of like the opposite to the Thai guru, where you're like, okay, man, huddle round. Here's the story. Here's how we play this. Maybe you should start your own Facebook group.
That sounds like an idea, mate. We could do it together. Why not?
No, man, I'd never get involved in that. Jesus, giving people advice about relationships? No way, man. That's not my thing. Oh, God.
Why not?
I'll
It
just
sounds
listen
like
to
a
the
great idea.
stories. I'll
Yeah, yeah,
interview the
yeah.
people. How about that? You set up the group and I'll bring them on here. We'll interview them.
Hey, hey, why not? Why not, man? I'd love to help men get out from wherever they are and discover themselves again. Because us men, we're like this. We have this appearance of being strong on the outside, but very often we're very weak inside when it comes to women. Like for me, I never had a mother's love. I never knew what it was like, right? I never had a very nurturing mother. If anything, my mom was pretty abusive, verbally and physically. So I had problems with that, because I would put women who gave me some care and all that, I'd put them on the pedestal. So I was simping without realizing, right? I thought I was guarded, but the moment they showed certain qualities that I've always wanted in a mother, I would just crumble and crack underneath without even realizing, and I would start to fall and fall without even realizing. So it's so important to take care of yourself. If you have to see a therapist or a psychologist to get that sorted out, okay, if you've been through post-breakup trauma, if you've been through a bad rejection when you were young by your mother or your stepmother or your sister or your girlfriend, take care of yourself, go seek treatment, get that sorted until you discover yourself, you love yourself, and you are so safe and secure in yourself, then you're really ready to start dating. So regardless of what those girls and those women are out there trying to do, whatever techniques and methods they're trying to throw at you, it's not going to earn dividends for them, because it's not going to work on you, because you don't have those triggers, right? They can't reach those triggers because you've managed with those triggers yourself.
Well, Josh, well, let's leave it there, man. Look, I really appreciate you coming on. I will leave, if anyone is out there watching this and they want to know more about your story, Josh, I'll link those two interviews we've done down below about your divorce. And then there was another one you kind of went on another deep dive on Thai culture and relationships as well. That's a pretty good one too. So I'll leave those two down below. Man, it's a pleasure. Look, we'll definitely have you on again. You're an interesting guy. You're an intelligent guy, very articulate. A lot of the people, a lot of subscribers last time commented on that as well. Definitely come on again. I'm sure down the line when you start mingling more, you're going to have another angle to talk about. So we'll definitely do it. Yeah.
It's always been a pleasure to share, Pete. Thank you for this opportunity, and this for all you guys out there, brothers. We're all in this together.